Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Christina and I'm a medical student studying at Newcastle University, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you something a bit different. It's not medically related, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that I learned from counselling. If you watched my my first year at medical school video, you know that I had a counselling group that I took part in, as well as one-to-one counselling. So I just thought I'd share with you guys some of the things I learned from counselling, because I thought it might be useful to people out there who may be struggling from anxiety or depression or just mental health in general. So I thought this video would be helpful for you guys. So in this video I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that I learned from counselling, as well as a bit of background as to why I got counselling as well. So just as a bit of background on me, I have been in the care system in the past. So when I was 11 to 13 I was in foster care, and this was in London. I then moved up north to Durham, like the northeast area. And when I was in this area, it was a very different demographic compared to London. Obviously, London is known for how diverse it is and how it's a hub of like different cultures and different ethnicities and stuff like that. And then I moved to an area which was predominantly white, so I naturally kind of faced a lot of, how do I word this? Just, I think I stood out a lot, and I suffered from racism. I had a number of different kind of attacks, I guess you could say, or I had a number of different opportunities and times when people tried to target me, as well as my mum as well. So yeah, that kind of took a toll over time on my mental health as well, especially because of how, you know, I'd straight away gone from being in care to just such a different environment. During later stages of school, I struggled with kind of making friends and socially as well. So I started to develop low mood and anxiety, and when I went to university I thought that this would all kind of melt away. I thought that, oh, I'm at university now, this is something that I've always wanted to be at medical school and study medicine, so now that I'm here it should all disappear, but that didn't happen, and I sadly did still struggle with anxiety and stuff. I won't go into too much detail because I talk about it a lot more in the my first year at medical school video, but yeah, I ended up starting to take antidepressants just because I was really struggling and I wasn't getting better on my own. And soon after I started taking the antidepressants, I started counselling, which massively helped me. Not only counselling, but journaling and counselling. I'd say maybe mindfulness a bit as well. Those are the 3 main things that really helped me overcome my like mental health struggles. Yeah, now that you've got a bit of background on me, hopefully this will make a bit more sense. So number 1 is slow progress is better than no progress. And there's an amazing quote, I'm just going to read it out. 1 step in the right direction is better than 100 years of thinking about it. So this really hit me when my counsellor, when she told me about this, because I think anyone who's struggling with any form of like negative thoughts or whatever it is, you might think that you need to just like, you might want to leap before you can walk, if that makes sense. You might want to jump to the finish line before you can even, you know, before you do anything else. But I think the key thing is that each day you really want to just make a tiny improvement, and then over a long period of time those little tiny improvements will add up. Yeah, that's the main thing here. It's that slow progress or tiny progress is much better than no progress. You don't want to get too caught up on maybe having massive big steps to stop you from taking like the small steps. You really just want to make consistent small progress, and that can be in the form of obviously kind of watching how you're talking to yourself, your self-talk, or it can just be you know, whether it's self-harm or whatever it is, whatever your progress, because progress to everyone is really different, especially depending on what you're struggling with. But try and make small steps in your form of progress over a long period of time. I think for people who struggle with social anxiety, this one is definitely going to be a big one. But basically, if you struggle to maybe go out of your comfort zone or speak up, or just anything that involves kind of putting yourself out there socially, it can be really difficult to kind of push past the initial anxiety that you face and push past your fear and then to actually do the thing that you're afraid of. But if you set out a plan to, you know, I really want to overcome this fear, or I really want to kind of beat my anxiety, you don't want to let any fear or anxiety that you do have get in the way of you achieving your goal or achieving your plan. When my counsellor told me this, it really helped me, because I think each time you are faced with that thing that you're scared of, you immediately start to feel anxious and anxiety. Maybe you get sweaty palms, or you start to sweat, or maybe you feel a panic attack coming. It's really easy to just stop. But when you think about it in this way, that your fears aren't going to go away, they aren't going to go away tomorrow or next week or next month. If you keep kind of retreating back as soon as you see your fear come up, you're never going to overcome it. So I think it's really difficult, and it's, you know, a tough pill to swallow, knowing that your fears aren't going to go away. But don't let your mood get in the way of your plan. Don't let the little anxiety that you face stop you from actually tackling your goal or tackling your fear. So the next one is the vicious cycle of anxiety. Now, this was honestly so interesting when I found out about it. I put a picture on the screen of the cycle, but it's pretty much just a cycle that explains how anxiety works and how it keeps you pretty much in the same spot as you are right now. So if you're struggling with anxiety and there's something that you're scared of, you might be faced with that fear tomorrow, and when you approach the fear, maybe it's like asking a stranger for help. Imagine that's the example. So you're really scared of asking strangers for help. Imagine you have to do that tomorrow because you're completely lost, you don't know where you're going, you have to ask a stranger for help. As soon as you start approaching the stranger, you might start to feel anxiety come up, you might start to feel scared, you might start to feel anxious, really worried, and you start to sweat, you start to get, and maybe increased heart rate and stuff. So basically your body has a biological response to anxiety which you feel in your head. Because you've started to manifest those symptoms physically, your mind starts to register that, oh, you're really anxious now, like she's really anxious, she doesn't want to go up to that stranger. And I think you'll naturally just stop and retreat and maybe walk away from the stranger, or you'll just realize that, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And then what happened is, okay, you haven't asked the stranger for help and you're going back on your normal path, you're going to go walk, carry on getting lost, but your fear hasn't gone away and you're still in the exact same position as you were to begin with. Basically, if you had to approach a stranger tomorrow, you're still going to be very scared. This is essentially the vicious cycle of anxiety. You are faced with your fear, you approach the fear, you start to feel scared, you start to feel anxious, and you're too scared to actually do it. So then you avoid it or you escape it, and you eventually are back where you started. If you are faced with that fear tomorrow, you'd still be really scared, you'd still be anxious. When I learned this, it just really helped me to understand that, okay, well, if I really want to break the cycle of anxiety, I really just need to face my fears head on and just do it. I can't keep like escaping things or making excuses. That's one thing that I did a lot of. I always made excuses like, oh, I'm not doing it because this, or I can't do it because that. But you just need to cut the excuses and just do it. If you really want to escape anxiety and just get rid of it altogether, you really just need to do the thing that you're scared of. There is no other shortcut, or there's no other way. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, especially if you're really struggling, but it is just the only way to face your fears. And to be honest, looking back on all the things that I've been really scared of and I've managed to do, especially over the past few months of like starting my blog and YouTube channel and actually sharing it, something as simple as sharing it on social media was something that I was so scared of, but doing it and then realizing the next day that this actually wasn't a big deal at all. Like, why was I scared of this? It's so nice to actually have a fear that you're scared of and then overcome it and do it and then realize that that was actually nothing. So if you're watching this and you had something in mind when I talked about that vicious cycle of anxiety of, being faced with a fear, approaching it, almost doing it, and then being too scared and just escaping it and then being in the same place again, if you had something in mind, that thing that you're afraid of is probably the thing that you should just go out and do. Now, I know that's really scary, especially I'm sure it's something that really does scare you and it really does make you anxious, even just the thought of it. But honestly, I promise guys, like doing the thing that you're scared of and then realizing once you've done it, when you're on the other side, you realize that that was actually nothing. Like, why was I scared of it? If you really want to overcome anxiety, the number one thing you need to do is just break the chain, break the cycle, stop going into that vicious cycle of anxiety, stop going through the loop, and just do the thing that you're afraid of. So number 4 is feel the fear and do it anyway. My counsellor and I, we kind of talked about all my fears that I have aren't going to go away, and if you let anxiety take over, keeping in mind anxiety is just a feeling, like it's just a way that you feel, it's just emotions in a way. So if you let anxiety and your feelings stop you from overcoming your fears, that might stop you from reaching your goals. If you have a goal to, I don't know, like be really successful in a certain field, or you can't let your anxiety or fear of public speaking, putting yourself out there, going out your comfort zone, you can't let that stop you, because in a way that will stop you from reaching your goals. The only way to get rid of fear is to just go out and do it. If you every day do something that you're afraid of or that's out of your comfort zone, naturally your comfort zone, if you imagine it as like a box, it'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger over the weeks, over the months, over the years, and you'll find that there's things that maybe in the future you're able to do that back in the day you were like so afraid of. And I think that's kind of where I'm at now. But yeah, I think I'm waffling a bit here, but what I'm trying to say is your fear isn't going to go away. Tough pill to swallow, but it isn't. Number 2, you just need to do the thing that you're afraid of. Whatever it is, as bad as it is, you just need to do it. But if it's a really big thing and you're thinking, I can't do that tomorrow, or I can't do that anytime soon, one thing to get started with is to gradually do things outside of your comfort zone. So last but not least is, it's just a thought. And I'm sure that literally everyone on the planet has suffered at some point from like negative thoughts or negative feelings and like negative self-talk in general. But one thing that my counsellor told me was that each time you do have a negative thought, I used to have these really horrible intrusive thoughts of like horrible things happening to like my friends and family or me or just people that I care about, and it really kind of would dampen my mood, especially if I was kind of like feeling good that day or I was just having a good day. To have these intrusive thoughts come into my head just made me feel horrible. But she kind of explained to me that it's just a thought. It really does have no power at all. It only has power once you kind of dwell on it or ruminate on it or just overthink it. So mindfulness will help with this as well. So if you meditate, you'll be able to kind of get into the habit of just observing your thoughts and realizing that you are not your thoughts, you're just the observer of them. But basically, try not to get too caught up in thinking, you know, my mind is telling me that I'm a horrible person, my mind is telling me that I'm not going to amount to anything, my mind is telling me that I'm worthless. You are not those things, those are just your thoughts. You and your thoughts are separate. And yeah, this was something that my counsellor kind of reinforced as well, which was really helpful. I think that might be helpful to you guys who are really struggling with your thoughts as well. Just realize that you are not your thoughts, you're just the observer of them. But I think practicing mindfulness, maybe meditating every day for like 10 or 15 minutes might really help with this as well. Yeah, so just realizing that your thoughts are not facts. You don't have to associate with everything that's on your mind, because if you think about it, a lot of your thoughts are just opinions, whether it's your own opinions or other people's opinions or things that you've read in magazines, the news, whatever it is, social media. You don't have to associate with your thoughts, and that's something that it took a bit of time for me to understand, but reading The Power of Now really did help with that. So I recommend that to you guys if you're struggling with anxiety or mental health and stuff. But yeah, you are not your thoughts and your thoughts are not facts. So if this video has been helpful for you, I'd love if you could give this video a thumbs up and maybe leave a comment about what tip you found really helpful. These are just some of the things that I learned from counselling. Honestly, there was a lot more, but I thought I don't want to ramble too much. I know I've waffled a lot in this video already. So yeah, let me know what you think of this video and what other types of videos you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!